3 days after the battle, High Admiral Vexithar walked through the corridors of the Indomitable. The alien commander was used to elegant spaces with soft lighting and peaceful silence. This was different. The walls were bare metal. Pipes and wires ran along the ceiling. Crew members hurried past, all with specific jobs to do. Everything was loud. Machinery hummed. People shouted orders. Welding torches sparked as repair teams fixed battle damage. This was a working ship, not a showpiece. Strategic Commander Lormex walked beside him, his reptilian eyes taking in everything. Fascinating. Their ship is more like a factory than a vessel. It works, Fleet Coordinator Winzera said quietly. Her glowing form seemed dim in the harsh lighting. That's what matters. Ambassador Kyo Sung met them in the hangar bay. Hi, Admiral, welcome. Admiral Tae Min is expecting you. They walked past rows of fighters being repaired. Mechanics crawled over damaged craft, replacing parts and welding holes. One fighter had a massive hole in its wing, but the mechanics were fixing it, not scrapping it. You repair battle damage? Vexthar asked. We usually replace damaged drones with new ones. These aren't drones, Kyo-sung explained. Each fighter has a pilot. That pilot knows their craft, trusts it. We repair what we can because it means something. In the pilot ready room, they saw the empty lockers. Seats where people had sat just days ago. Pilot Bora sat alone, staring at a photo. Her friend Jae-sung smiled back at her from the picture. He would never smile again. Commander Wonsik, the carrier's chaplain, was talking with other pilots, each one dealing with loss in their own way. Some cried. Some sat in silence. Some talked about their lost friends. So many casualties, Winzera whispered. Is this normal for humans? Death is always part of war, Kyo-sung replied. We don't hide from it. We honor it. They reached the briefing room where Admiral Tae Min waited with his senior officers. Captain Ji-woo stood beside him. Commander Da-yoon had come up from engineering. Lieutenant Hyun-soo managed the tactical displays. Hi, Admiral Vexthar, Tae Min said formally. Please sit. The alien commanders looked at the simple metal chairs. No comfortable cushions, no adjustable settings, just functional furniture. They sat anyway. Admiral Tae Min, I must know, Vexthar began. How did you defeat the Vratoan so easily? They destroyed 40 of our ships. You faced more enemies alone and won. Tae Min activated the tactical display. Because we fight differently than you do. He showed them the battle recordings. The coalition fleet had been perfect and organized. Beautiful formations. Precise firing solutions. Everything optimized by computers. And they had failed. Your forces are designed for efficiency, Tae Min explained. Minimal casualties. Maximum technology, AI control, energy shields. It's impressive. It works against most enemies. But not against the Vratoan, Lormex said. Why? Because they adapted. They found your weakness. Tae Min pointed to the recording of coalition ships being destroyed. Your shields failed. Without them, your ships are fragile. Elegant, but fragile. Commander Dawoon stood up. Your vessels rely on one defensive system. What happens when it fails? You have no backup. Our carrier is solid armor. You can blow holes in it and we'll keep fighting. Captain Jiwoo added, your drones are perfect in formation, but they can't adapt like human pilots. They can't make split-second decisions. They can't take creative risks. Lieutenant Hyun-soo showed more footage. And your energy weapons need to recharge. They're powerful but limited. Kinetic weapons don't care about recharge times. We just keep shooting. Vexthar watched the recordings carefully. You're describing brutality. Raw force over elegance. Yes, Tae Min agreed without hesitation. Humans are very good at brutality. We've practiced on each other for 10,000 years. We learned every lesson the hard way. Winzera's form flickered with distress. But your casualties. You lost over 100 pilots. That's over 1/3 of your force. Tae Min's expression hardened. Yes, and every single one of them knew the risks. They volunteered. They chose to be here. Doesn't that bother you? She asked. All those deaths? Of course it bothers me, Tae Min said, his voice rough with emotion. Every name haunts me. But they died protecting others. They died with purpose. That matters. Ambassador Kyo-sung spoke up. The coalition has enjoyed peace for 2,000 years. You've forgotten what war really costs. Humans haven't. We pay in blood and we remember every name. Lormex stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the memorial wall through another window. Thousands of names etched in metal. You carry your dead with you. Always, Taman confirmed. Every human who died in space combat. We remember them all. We recycle our drones, Vexthar said quietly. We don't memorialize them. They're machines, Captain Jiwoo said. Our pilots are people, family, friends, that's the difference. The briefing room fell silent. The alien commanders struggled with what they were learning. Their entire military philosophy was being challenged. War didn't have to be clean. Efficiency wasn't everything. Sometimes survival required sacrifice. Finally, Vexthar stood formally. Admiral Taman, on behalf of the Galactic Coalition, I formally apologize for dismissing your forces. You saved this fleet. You saved this sector. You saved countless lives. Lormex nodded. Your tactics are disturbing to us. But they work. We request permission to study your combat doctrine. Granted, Taman said, but understand something. Our way of war is not easy. It costs, it hurts. Are you prepared for that? We may have no choice, Winzera said. Intelligence reports suggest the Vratoan have more forces, many more. This was just one swarm. Then we'll fight them again, Taman replied, and we'll teach you how. Later that day, the Coalition held a ceremony in the Indomitable's main hangar bay. They wanted to honor the fallen using their own traditions, the Ceremony of Light, where they created holographic representations of the dead and spoke about their sacrifice. But they also participated in the human ceremony. 128 names were read aloud. Every single one. No numbers, no statistics. Individual people with individual stories. Flight leader Sang-hoon stood before the gathered crew. His voice broke as he spoke about Jae-sung. Lieutenant Jae-sung was my wingman for 2 years. He made terrible jokes. He cheated at cards. He once stayed up 30 hours helping me study for my command exam. He paused, collecting himself. He died protecting a bomber squadron. He didn't hesitate. He just did what needed to be done. That's who he was. A protector, a friend, a hero. The alien commanders stood in the audience, witnessing something their culture had almost forgotten. Real grief, real loss, real sacrifice. Each name was a person, not a number. Each death mattered. Pilot Bora spoke about another fallen comrade. Pilot Minna shared memories of friends who wouldn't return. Commander Wansik blessed them according to various human traditions. Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, and others. Every belief respected, every person honored. When it ended, Fleet Coordinator Winsera approached Sang-hoon. Your words were beautiful. Painful but beautiful. That's what loss feels like, Sang-hoon replied. Beautiful and painful together. The Coalition commanders left the Indomitable that evening with new understanding. They had come expecting to find primitive barbarians. Instead, they found warriors who understood the true cost of war. On the bridge, Admiral Taman stood looking at the stars. Captain Jiwoo joined him, both holding coffee. They're different now, Jiwoo observed. The way they look at us. They're scared, Taman said. Scared of us. Scared of what we represent. We showed them that nice technology isn't enough. Sometimes you need people willing to die. Do you think they'll learn? They'll have to. Because if more Vratoan are coming, the Coalition needs to get tougher, smarter, more willing to sacrifice. And if they can't? Taman took a sip of coffee. Then humans will carry the burden, like we always have. In the engineering section, Commander Yoon oversaw repairs. The carrier had taken damage, but nothing critical. Armor plates were being replaced. Weapon systems were being fixed. The old girl would be ready to fight again soon. Commander, we've lost 3 railgun batteries completely, a technician reported. Can't repair them. Then we'll fight with 17, Daewon replied. We've done more with less before. Throughout the ship, life continued. Crew members worked, rested, mourned, and prepared for the next battle. The memorial wall grew longer. The hull showed new scars. But the Indomitable remained strong. In the galaxy beyond, the Coalition fleet returned to their home worlds. They brought stories of the battle, of the primitive human carrier that won when they failed, of pilots who chose to die protecting others. The galaxy was changing. War had returned, and everyone was learning that sometimes the primitive, ugly, brutal approach was exactly what survival required. Admiral Tae-min stood in the memorial hall one more time, looking at the new names being added. 128 more people who would never be forgotten. They laughed at our primitive carrier, he said quietly to himself. Now they understand. We didn't build it to impress them. We built it to win. And winning is ugly. A Vratoan swarm entered weapons range like a dark wave. 50,000 bioships moved as one creature, their black chitin armor reflecting no light. Organic weapons pulsed with a sickly green glow. The Coalition fleet faced them without fear. High Admiral Vexthar gave his orders. All ships activate quantum shields. Release drone fighters. Plasma batteries prepare to fire. Across the Coalition fleet, millions of AI-controlled drones poured out from hangar bays. Each one was small, fast, and perfectly programmed. Energy shields shimmered into existence around every alien vessel. The shields glowed softly, creating a barrier that could stop almost any attack. Then the plasma weapons fired. Bright beams of superheated energy lanced through space. They struck the Vratoan bioships with perfect accuracy. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. The first wave of alien bioships died by the hundreds. Enemy casualties at 12%, Strategic Commander Lormex reported. His voice was calm and confident. Continuing advance. Our losses are minimal. The Coalition drones swarmed around the Vratoan ships like angry insects. Their small plasma weapons fired continuously. The enemy bioships tried to fight back, but the drones were too fast, too coordinated. The AI controlled millions of drones as if they were one being. For 30 minutes, it looked like an easy victory. The Coalition tactics were working perfectly. Their technology was superior. Their shields held against every attack. The beautiful crystalline ships moved in elegant formations, destroying everything in their path. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Jiwoo watched the battle displays. The Coalition forces are performing well, Admiral. Lieutenant Hyun-soo nodded. Those plasma weapons have incredible range. And the drones are everywhere. The Vratoan can't get close, but Admiral Taemin wasn't smiling. He studied the enemy movements carefully. His experienced eyes saw something the Coalition commanders missed. Commander Daeun, he called down to engineering. How long can those Coalition shields stay active? Daeun checked her instruments. She had been analyzing the alien ships since they arrived. Based on their energy output, maybe 90 minutes of heavy combat. After that, the shields will need time to recharge. That's what I thought. Taemin pointed at his tactical display. Look at the Vratoan formation. They're not retreating. They're not trying to win. They're stalling. Jiwoo leaned closer. Stalling for what? Reinforcements. At the 60-minute mark, everything changed. The Vratoan swarm suddenly split into 3 groups. They moved in different directions, seeming to retreat. The Coalition commanders thought they were winning. Then sensors detected new contacts. From behind a nearby asteroid field, more bioships appeared. Not hundreds, not thousands, hundreds of thousands. The asteroid field had hidden their biosignatures perfectly. Impossible! Vexthar's voice cracked across the communication channels. New contacts. 100,000 ships. No more, updating count. 150,000. Lormex's cold voice cut through the panic. We are now outnumbered 15-1. Revising tactical assessment. The real Vratoan fleet emerged like a nightmare. 200,000 bioships against 8,000 Coalition vessels. The first battle had just been a test. A way to learn Coalition tactics. A way to drain their shields. The new strategy became clear immediately. The Vratoan began ramming Coalition ships, not with weapons but with their own bodies. Thousands of bioships threw themselves at the energy shields. The shields could stop plasma weapons and missiles, but physical impacts drained them differently. Each ramming bioship was destroyed, but it cost the Coalition ship energy. Hundreds of ships ramming the same shield drained it completely. Forward fleet shields at 30%, Fleet Coordinator Winzera reported. Her glowing form flickered with concern. Recommendation, retreat to secondary line. Negative, Vexthar responded. We cannot abandon this sector. All ships increased drone production, but the drones weren't enough. The Vratoans' new tactic was simple and brutal. They ignored the drones and focused on ramming the big ships. More and more bioships crashed into Coalition vessels, overwhelming their shields through sheer numbers. The first Coalition ship died at the 70-minute mark. The cruiser Eternal Wisdom lost its shields completely. Without protection, the elegant crystalline hull was fragile. 20 bioships rammed it simultaneously. The beautiful vessel shattered like glass, breaking into thousands of pieces. More ships followed. The dreadnought Serenity's hammer tried to retreat, but its anti-gravity drives couldn't maneuver fast enough. The Vratoan swarmed it like insects on a corpse. It exploded in a flash of blue light. The Coalition's weakness became obvious. Their ships were optimized for efficiency, not survival. Without shields, they had no backup, no armor, just fragile hulls that broke under impact. "We've lost 40 ships," Lormex reported. His calm voice finally showed stress. "This is unsustainable. All fleet tactical retreat to Rally Point Sigma," Vexthar ordered. For the first time in 2,000 years, the Coalition fleet was running from battle. Aboard a Coalition command ship, Ambassador Kyo Sung received an urgent message. "All human vessels evacuate immediately. Fall back to safe coordinates. The human carrier will not survive this battle." He opened a communication channel to the Indomitable. "Admiral Taemin, the Coalition is ordering full retreat. We must fall back now." Taemin's voice was calm. "Acknowledged, Ambassador. Please relay to High Admiral Vexthar that the KCSS Indomitable will hold position." "Admiral, they're ordering us to retreat. If we stay, we'll face the enemy alone." "I heard the order, Ambassador. Tell them we respectfully decline." Captain Jiwoo turned to face him. "Sir, we can't fight 200,000 ships alone." Taemin set down his coffee and stood. "We're not going to fight them, Captain. We're going to kill them. Sound general quarters. Launch all fighters." The Coalition fleet began its retreat. Beautiful ships accelerated away from the battlefield, their elegant formations broken. The Vratoan swarm let them go. They had easier prey now. 30,000 bioships turned toward the Indomitable. The lone human carrier hung in space, not moving. To the aliens, it looked like an abandoned ship. Easy target, a primitive vessel that would break as easily as the Coalition ships. Inside the carrier, red alert sirens blared. The sound echoed through every corridor and compartment. Crew members rushed to battle stations with practiced efficiency. This wasn't their first battle. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. In the massive hangar bays, pilots sprinted to their fighters. Each pilot wore a flight suit and helmet. They carried lucky charms and photos of loved ones. No AI here. Every fighter had a human being inside. Lieutenant Sang-hoon reached his fighter first. He was the flight leader, responsible for 240 pilots. "This is Reaper 1 to all squadrons. Check your systems. Watch your wingman. Remember your training." "Reaper 7 ready," Pilot Bora responded. She was young but skilled. Her fighter's weapons showed green on all indicators. "Thunderhawk Squadron ready," Bomber Commander Jin Ho reported. His heavy bombers carried the real firepower. Nuclear torpedoes and anti-ship missiles. "Ghost 1 electronic warfare ready," Specialist Yunji added. Her craft would jam enemy communications and confuse their coordination. The hangar bay doors began to open. 6 massive doors, each 100 meters wide. Beyond them was space and 30,000 incoming enemy ships. On the bridge, Commander Daun's voice came through clearly. "Engineering reports all reactors at maximum output. Armor integrity 100%. All weapon systems armed and ready. Admiral, the old girl is ready to show them what primitive means." Admiral Taemin looked through the bridge windows at the approaching swarm. He could see them now, thousands of dark shapes against the stars. They came closer every second, confident in their victory. Lieutenant Hyun-soo watched his tactical display. "Range to enemy, 400 kilometers and closing. Sir, they'll be in firing range in 3 minutes. Steady, Lieutenant. Wait for optimal range. Sir, shouldn't we start firing now?" "No, let them get close. Let them think we're an easy target." Taemin picked up his coffee again. His hand was completely steady. "They laughed at our primitive carrier. They mocked our technology. Now they're about to learn why humans survived 10,000 years of warfare." Captain Jiwoo checked her displays one more time. "All fighters report ready. All bombers armed. Point defense grid online. We're ready, Admiral." The Vratoan swarm closed to 300 kilometers. 200, 150. From the Coalition fleet, now safely distant, the alien commanders watched in horror and fascination. They couldn't understand why the human ship wasn't running. Didn't the humans realize they were about to die? Ambassador Kyo Sung stood on the Coalition command ship's bridge, his hands gripping a railing. He had faith in Taemin, but 30,000 enemies against one ship seemed impossible. 100 kilometers. The Vratoan prepared to ram the carrier just like they had destroyed Coalition ships. 30,000 bioships against one primitive human vessel. Range optimal, Hyun-soo reported. Admiral Taemin smiled coldly. "Commander Da-un, you may fire when ready." "Aye, sir. All batteries open fire. Let's show these bastards what primitive looks like." The KCSS Indomitable opened fire with everything it had. The stars looked like scattered diamonds against the black void of space. Near the Helix Nebula, thousands of alien ships floated in perfect formation. Each vessel gleamed like polished crystal, reflecting light in rainbow patterns. They were beautiful, elegant, and deadly. This was the grand fleet of the Galactic Coalition, assembled to face a new threat. Admiral Taman stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the alien fleet through the windows. Real windows, not holographic displays. He was 52 years old with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. In his hand he held a thermos of coffee. He took a slow sip and watched. "They're impressive," said Captain Jiwoo, standing beside him. She was younger, 38, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Look at those ships. No visible weapons, no armor, just energy shields. Pretty doesn't win wars." Taman replied quietly. On the other side of the bridge, Lieutenant Hyun-soo checked his displays. He was 29 and eager to prove himself. "Sir, the alien commanders are having another meeting." "Should we join?" "No, let them talk. We'll listen." The holographic conference appeared on their screens. 3 alien commanders filled the display. High Admiral Vexthar was a bird-like creature with bright feathers and a 6-meter wingspan. Strategic Commander Lormex looked like a giant lizard with cold, calculating eyes. Fleet Coordinator Winzera appeared as a glowing humanoid shape made of pure light. They were discussing the human ship. "Have you seen the human contribution?" Vexthar asked, his voice containing barely hidden amusement. "It finally arrived this morning." "I reviewed the specifications," Lormex said. "Fascinating in a primitive way. They use kinetic weapons, actual bullets and missiles. And armor plating," Winzera added. "Thick metal covering the entire hull. How delightfully ancient." Vexthar made a sound that might have been laughter. "They still use nuclear reactors for power. Fission reactions. Do they not know about antimatter?" "Perhaps they cannot afford better technology," Lormex suggested. "Their species only joined the Coalition 43 years ago. They are children playing with adult tools." On the bridge of the human ship, the crew heard every word. The conversation was on open channels, broadcast across the entire fleet. Lieutenant Hyun-soo's face turned red with anger. "Sir, they're mocking us. Everyone can hear them." Taman took another sip of coffee. "Let them talk, Lieutenant." "But sir." "They'll stop talking soon enough," Taman interrupted calmly. "How's Commander Da-un doing in engineering?" Hyun-soo checked his console. "She reports all systems ready, sir." In the engineering section deep inside the ship, Commander Da-un worked among massive machines. She was 45 years old, tough as steel, and treated the carrier like her own child. Around her, crew members checked systems and ran diagnostics. The nuclear reactors hummed with power. "Make sure every fighter is fueled and armed," she ordered. "I want all 240 fighters ready to launch. And all 140 bombers too." "Yes, Commander," her crew responded. Outside, the human ship came into full view of the alien fleet. The KCSS Indomitable was massive, 4.2 kilometers long. But it looked nothing like the beautiful alien vessels. It was blocky and industrial, covered in thick gray armor plates. Gun turrets dotted its surface like metal thorns. Massive engines at the rear produced visible blue exhaust. The entire ship slowly rotated to create artificial gravity. For the crew inside, it looked brutal, functional, almost ugly compared to the crystalline beauty of the Coalition. Ships, the alien media networks, immediately began broadcasting commentary. "Humanity's embarrassing contribution," one headline read. "Primitive weapons in a modern war," said another. Across hundreds of worlds, billions of beings watched and laughed at the human ship. Ambassador Kyo-sung sat in his quarters aboard a Coalition vessel, watching the broadcasts. He was 61 years old, with white hair and a diplomat's patient expression. But inside he felt frustrated. Humans had worked so hard to join the Coalition to be accepted, and now they were being mocked. His communication console beeped. It was Admiral Taman. "Ambassador, I assume you've seen the broadcasts." "Unfortunately, yes," Kyo-sung replied. "Admiral, perhaps we should issue a statement. Defend our vessel's capabilities." "No need, Ambassador. Actions speak louder than words." "We'll show them soon enough." "Show them what?" Taman smiled grimly. "What humans do best." The reason for the fleet assembly became clear an hour later. Long-range sensors detected the enemy. The Vertoan swarm was approaching. These were biological ships grown rather than built. Each one looked like a giant insect made of black chitin and exposed organs. They moved together like a school of fish perfectly coordinated by a hive mind. Enemy fleet detected, Lormex announced to all ships. Initial count, 50,000 vessels, 50,000 against 8,000 coalition ships. The odds weren't terrible, but they weren't good either. All ships moved to battle formation, Vexthar commanded. Activate shields. Prepare drone fighters. The alien fleet moved gracefully into position. Energy shields flickered into existence around each vessel. From their hangar bays, millions of small AI-controlled drones emerged. No pilots, just computers. Perfect and efficient. The coalition commanders didn't give the Indomitable any important position. They placed the human carrier far in the rear, away from the main fighting. The human vessel will provide support, Vexthar announced. They should remain at a safe distance. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Jiwoo frowned. They're keeping us out of the fight, sir. They think we can't handle real combat, Hyun-soo added bitterly. Taemin studied the tactical display. He watched the enemy fleet's movement patterns. He noticed how the Vratoan ships moved together, perfectly synchronized. He saw the coalition fleet's neat formations, their reliance on shields and energy weapons. Captain Jiwoo, do you know what the biggest advantage humans have? He asked, sir. We've been fighting wars for 10,000 years. We know every mistake. We've learned from all of them. These coalition species have had peace for 2,000 years. They've forgotten what real war looks like. And the Vratoan? She asked. They're about to teach the coalition a hard lesson, and then it will be our turn to teach one. Commander Daun's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, all fighters are ready. Pilots are standing by. The old girl is ready to fight. Thank you, Commander. Stand by. We'll get our chance. The Vratoan fleet moved closer. 50,000 bioships, their organic weapons visible even from a distance. The coalition fleet looked confident. Their technology was superior. Their tactics were proven. They had no doubt about victory, but Admiral Taemin knew better. He had seen this pattern before in Earth's history. Overconfidence based on technology, underestimating a primitive enemy. It never ended well. He took another sip of coffee and watched the alien fleet prepare for battle. They had laughed at his primitive carrier. They had mocked human technology. Soon they would learn that sometimes primitive was exactly what won wars. Lieutenant Hyun-soo, Sound General Quarters, he ordered calmly. Have all crew report to battle stations. Yes, sir. Throughout the Indomitable, alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Thousands of crew members rushed to their positions. In the hangar bays, pilots ran to their fighters. In engineering, Daeun's team brought all systems to maximum power. In weapons control, targeting computers came online. The coalition fleet moved forward to meet the enemy. The beautiful, elegant alien ships with their perfect formations and advanced technology sailed confidently toward the Vratoan swarm. The Indomitable, ugly and primitive, waited in the rear. Its crew was ready. Its weapons were armed. And Admiral Taemin watched everything with calm, knowing eyes. The battle was about to begin. And nothing would go as the coalition expected. 20 railgun batteries fired simultaneously. Each gun accelerated tungsten slugs to 3% of light speed using magnetic fields. The projectiles were simple metal rods, nothing fancy. But at that velocity, they hit with the force of nuclear weapons. The first wave of Vratoan bioships didn't even see the attack coming. Railgun rounds had no energy signature, no heat trail, no warning. One moment the bioships were charging forward. The next moment tungsten slugs punched through them like paper. Explosions rippled through the enemy formation. 20 bioships died in the first second, 40 more in the second. The railguns fired continuously, their mechanical systems needing no recharge time like energy weapons. Then the missiles launched. 80 missile pods opened along the carrier's hull, each pod containing multiple warheads. Hundreds of missiles streaked into space. Some carried conventional explosives. Others carried nuclear warheads. All of them had one job: destroy everything in their path. Missiles away. Lieutenant Hyun-soo shouted over the noise. The bridge shook with each launch. Impact in 10 seconds. The missiles struck the Vratoan swarm. Nuclear detonations flashed silently in the void. In space there were no fireballs, just intense radiation and shockwaves that tore bioships apart. Each explosion destroyed dozens of enemies. From the hangar bays the fighters launched. 240 F-117K Reaper fighters poured out like angry hornets. Unlike coalition AI drones, each fighter had a human pilot inside. Real people with instincts, creativity, and determination. "Reaper Squadron, form up on me," Flight Leader Sang-hoon ordered. His fighter accelerated away from the carrier. "Break by pairs and engage at will." The fighters didn't maintain perfect formation like AI drones. Instead, they scattered in seemingly random patterns. Pairs of fighters worked together, protecting each other while attacking from unexpected angles. The Vratoan hive mind couldn't predict their movements because humans didn't follow logical patterns. Pilot Bora locked onto a bioship and fired her railguns, smaller than the carrier's weapons but still deadly. The rounds tore through the organic armor. Splash one. "Coming around for another pass?" Behind the fighters came the bombers, 140 B-88 Thunderhawk heavy bombers, each one carrying anti-ship torpedoes. Commander Jinho led them deeper into the enemy formation. "Thunderhawk Squadron, I'm tracking the big ones," Jinho announced. His sensors had identified the largest bioships at the center of the swarm. "Those are command organisms. Take them out." The bombers pushed through enemy fire. Their thick armor absorbed hits that would have destroyed coalition drones. Redundant systems kept them flying even when damaged. Human engineering at its finest. Build it tough, keep it simple, make it work. Meanwhile, the Indomitable's point defense system engaged. 400 rotary cannons covered every angle of the carrier. Unlike energy weapons that needed to recharge, these were purely mechanical. They just spun faster and fired more bullets. Several thousand Vratoan bioships broke away from the main swarm and charged directly at the carrier. They planned to ram it like they had destroyed coalition vessels. "Enemy wave incoming," Hyunsu warned. 4,000 contacts heading right for us. "Point defense, free fire," Captain Jiwoo ordered calmly. The rotary cannons opened up. Tens of thousands of rounds per minute created a wall of metal around the carrier. Depleted uranium shells traveling at supersonic speed shredded anything that came close. The bioships entered the kill zone and disintegrated. Pieces of organic matter bounced harmlessly off the carrier's thick armor. Commander Da-un monitored the damage reports from engineering. Hull taking hits. Armor integrity at 97%. We're barely scratched. "That's because armor works," Admiral Taemin said, watching the battle through the bridge windows. "It survived human wars for 3,000 years. It'll survive today." Out in the fighter battle, the human pilots showed why organic intelligence beat artificial intelligence. The coalition drones were perfect but predictable. Human pilots were messy, creative, and unpredictable. Pilot Jae-sung found himself chased by 3 bioships. His fighter jinked and rolled, avoiding their organic weapons. "Reaper 5, I've got 3 on my tail." "Reaper 9, I got you." Pilot Mina swooped in from the side. Her railguns fired, destroying 2 of the pursuing bioships. The third one turned to face her, but Jae-sung had already come around. He destroyed it from behind. "Thanks, Mina. Watch your 6 next time." This kind of teamwork was impossible for AI. The drones would calculate optimal firing solutions, but they wouldn't sacrifice their position to save another drone. Humans did, every time the bombers reached their targets. The massive Vratoan command organisms were 4 times larger than normal bioships. These queens coordinated hundreds of smaller vessels through biological signals. The coalition had tried to kill them before but couldn't penetrate deep enough into the swarm. Humans simply flew straight through. Jinho's bomber took hits from enemy weapons. His shields were failing. His armor had holes in it, but his engines still worked and his torpedo was still armed. Thunderhawk 1 firing torpedo. The nuclear torpedo launched. Its guidance system was simple compared to coalition technology. It just looked for the biggest heat source and flew toward it. But simple worked. The warhead detonated. The Vratoan queen exploded in a flash of radiation. Instantly, 100 bioships coordinated by that queen lost their connection. They drifted aimlessly, no longer part of the hive mind. Other bombers followed Jinho's lead. More torpedoes launched. More queens died. The Vratoan swarm began to fragment. Aboard the coalition command ship, the alien commanders watched in stunned disbelief. High Admiral Vexthar's feathers stood on end. "How are they doing this?" he whispered. Strategic Commander Lormax analyzed the tactical data. "Their weapons are kinetic. Pure physics. No energy signatures to detect. No shields to counter them. Just mass and velocity." Fleet Coordinator Winzera's glowing form flickered. And their pilots. They're not following any tactical doctrine I recognize. They're improvising constantly. Ambassador Kyosung allowed himself a small smile. That's what humans do, Admiral. We adapt. Back on the Indomitable, the battle raged for 2 hours. The carrier's armor was scarred and dented but held. 28-point defense cannons were destroyed, but 400-28 still left plenty. 3 railgun batteries went offline, but 17 kept firing. The fighters and bombers rotated back to the carrier in shifts. They rearmed, refueled, and launched again. Pilots grabbed quick meals and coffee while maintenance crews worked on their craft. Then back into the fight. The Vratoan swarm, which had numbered 30,000 at the start, was now down to less than 5,000. The survivors began to retreat. Without their queens, without coordination, they were just individual ships fleeing in different directions. Enemy is breaking off, Yunsu reported. They're running. Let them go, Taemin ordered. Recall all fighters. Let's count our costs. The fighters began returning. From the bridge, Captain Jiwoo watched them come home. She counted them. Her heart sank as she realized how many were missing. Flight Control Officer Soo-jin made her report with a shaking voice. Sir, of 440 craft launched, 287 have returned. The bridge went silent. Everyone did the math. 153 fighters hadn't come home. 153 pilots, casualties? Taemin asked quietly. 128 confirmed killed in action, 25 rescued from damaged craft, 14 wounded in medical bay. Admiral Taemin stood silent for a long moment. Each number was a person. Someone's son or daughter, someone's friend, someone who had trusted him to lead them. Make sure their families are notified personally, he said finally, and add their names to the memorial wall. The coalition fleet, which had retreated to safety, now returned cautiously. They moved through the debris field in stunned silence. Tens of thousands of destroyed Vratoan bioships drifted in space. At the center of the carnage, the Indomitable hung battered but unbroken. High Admiral Vexthar opened a communication channel. Admiral Taemin, we request permission to come aboard your vessel. Permission granted, High Admiral. In the pilot ready room, the survivors sat in shock. Empty seats where friends had been hours ago. Pilot Bora stared at Jae-sung's locker. He had been on her wing for 2 years. His fighter had taken a direct hit on his 4th attack run. He never ejected. Sang-hoon put a hand on her shoulder. He took out his target. Saved a bomber squadron. That doesn't bring him back, Pilot Minna said, tears streaming down her face. Commander Wansik, the carrier's chaplain, moved through the room. He spoke quietly with each pilot, making notes. Every name, every story, every sacrifice would be remembered. The Vratoan swarm was defeated. The sector was saved. But victory had a cost. It always did. And humans, unlike the coalition with their AI drones, felt every single loss. Admiral Taemin stood in the memorial hall, looking at the wall covered with names. Thousands of names from decades of human space combat. Soon, 128 more would join them. He raised his coffee thermos in a silent salute. You did your duty. You saved lives. Rest easy. 6 months passed since the first battle. The Galactic Coalition Grand Council assembled in emergency session. The massive chamber held holographic representatives from 847 different species. At the center stood Admiral Taemin and Ambassador Kyosung, the first humans to address the full council. Supreme Counselor Vethran, an ancient being that looked like a large frog, spoke first. Admiral Taemin, Ambassador Kyosung, the coalition acknowledges our failure. We were not prepared for the Vratoan threat. You succeeded where we could not. Trade Minister Corvin, a creature made of crystalline structures, added, However, your methods concern us. The violence. The casualties. This is not how civilized species wage war. Taemin remained calm. With respect, Counselor, those casualties prevented billions of deaths. If the Vratoan had won that battle, they would have reached 3 inhabited systems. Ambassador Kyosung continued, The coalition has grown comfortable. Your wars are clean, distant. AI fights AI. Drones destroy drones. No one bleeds. But real war doesn't work that way. Intelligence Officer Iwan, a young human woman, stepped forward with new data. Our reconnaissance has located the Vratoan home cluster. They're preparing a massive invasion. Based on bioship construction rates, they'll attack within weeks. How many ships? Strategic Commander Lormex asked. 5 million bioships. Multiple queens. If they attack together, they'll overwhelm all coalition defenses. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. 5 million ships against the coalition's 80,000 vessels. The mathematics were terrifying. High Admiral Vexthar's feathers stood on end. 5 million? Even with full mobilization, we cannot match those numbers. One carrier cannot defeat that, Supreme Counselor Vethron stated. You're right, Taman agreed. One carrier can't, but Earth has 11 more under construction, and 40 battleships, 150 cruisers, 400 destroyers, 8,000 fighters. The council stared in disbelief. Humanity had been building a fleet. Commander Daun appeared via hologram from Earth. Our shipyards are working continuously. We can complete the remaining carriers in 4 months. Earth's industrial capacity is fully mobilized. And if necessary, Ambassador Kyo-sung added, Earth's population of 14 billion can field a military force of 40 million within a year. The numbers shocked the aliens. The coalition hadn't mobilized for war in 2,000 years. They had forgotten how. Humanity could do it in months because they never stopped preparing for war. We propose a joint operation, Admiral Taman said. Coalition technology combined with human tactics. You have superior sensors, engines, and medical technology. We know how to fight brutal wars. Captain Jiwoo stepped forward. We'll teach you our combat doctrine. You provide us with better equipment. Together we can win. Lieutenant Hyun-soo added. We show you how to fight ugly. You give us better tools to fight with. Not everyone agreed. Diplomatic envoy Sarek, a floating jellyfish-like being, objected. You're asking us to abandon 2,000 years of peace, to become warriors like you. This is not who we are. The Vratoan don't care who you are, Taman replied firmly. They only understand strength. You can choose to fight or choose to die. There is no third option. Cultural Minister Linara, a graceful being of pure energy, worried about the cost. Your people suffer trauma from combat. The psychological damage, Commander Wansik, the Indomitable's chaplain, interrupted gently. Yes, our people carry scars, mental and physical, but we have systems to help them. Counseling, community, purpose. Our veterans are honored and supported. Flight leader Sang-hoon stood beside Wansik. I've lost 37 wingmen over my career. Every death haunts me, but I keep flying because my sacrifice saves others. That purpose helps me endure. The council voted. It was close. Many species were uncomfortable with human methods, but fear of extinction won. The result? 512 in favor, 335 against. The coalition adopts emergency military protocols, Supreme Counselor Vethron announced. Admiral Taman, you are appointed Supreme Commander of Joint Forces. Over the next 4 months, the galaxy transformed. Human shipyards worked around the clock. The 10 remaining supercarriers were completed ahead of schedule. Earth's factories produced weapons, armor, and supplies at a rate the coalition had never seen. Coalition facilities were retooled. Their elegant ships received human armor plating. Energy shields remained but were backed by physical protection. If shields failed, the ships wouldn't shatter anymore. Joint training programs began. Alien officers learned human tactics. Human engineers learned coalition technology. Fighter pilots from dozens of species trained together. Pilot Bora found herself teaching alien pilots. Forget perfect formation, she told them. You need to think like prey being hunted. Move erratically. Be unpredictable. Stay aggressive. A young alien pilot named Kexelin, daughter of High Admiral Vexthar, became Bo-Ra's student. The bird-like creature struggled at first with the chaotic human style. This makes no sense, Kexelin complained. Why would I break formation? Because predictable pilots are dead pilots, Bo-Ra explained. The enemy can calculate where a perfect formation will be. They can't predict chaos, slowly Kexelin learned. She and pilot Minna became friends despite being different species. They shared fears, hopes, and determination. War was bringing the galaxy together in ways peace never had. Commander Da-Yoon worked with coalition scientists, teaching them human engineering philosophy. Your anti-gravity drives are amazing, but what happens when they fail? You need backup systems, redundant thrusters, multiple power sources. Strategic Commander Lormex spent weeks studying Earth's military history. He read about wars that lasted years, conflicts that killed millions. He was horrified but also understanding. Human skill in war came from painful experience. Fleet Coordinator Winzera attended human memorial services regularly. She learned why remembering the dead mattered. She began advocating for similar traditions in coalition culture. 4 months later, the joint fleet assembled. 12 human supercarriers formed the center. 80,000 coalition vessels, now retrofitted with armor, surrounded them. 2 million fighters, both human-piloted and AI-controlled, filled the space between. The fleet was ready, but the enemy was terrifying. 5 million Vertoan bioships, 40 queen ships, the largest invasion force the galaxy had ever seen. In the strategy session before departure, the commanders planned their attack. The Vertoan fight as one organism, Timon explained. We need to break their coordination by killing the queens. Our intelligence suggests they communicate through bioelectromagnetic pulses, Officer Iwan said. If we can jam those frequencies, electronic warfare specialist Yunji interrupted excitedly. I can modify our jamming systems to target biological frequencies, but it'll require all 12 carriers working together. Then that's our strategy, High Admiral Vexthar concluded. The carriers form the center. Coalition fleet provides cover. Fighters strike the queens. Everyone understands this will be costly, Admiral Taman said seriously. We're facing 5 million enemies. We will lose ships. We will lose people. Fleet Coordinator Winzera met his eyes. We understand, Admiral. We're ready. On the eve of battle, across the fleet, people prepared in their own ways. Captain Jiwoo wrote letters to her family on Earth. Flight leader Sang-hoon watched videos of his fallen comrades and made quiet promises. Commander Da-un walked through the Indomitable's corridors, touching the walls, talking to the ship like an old friend. Admiral Tai-min stood in the memorial hall, reading the names of the fallen. 128 names from the last battle. How many more would join them tomorrow? Pilot Minna and Kexlin exchanged small tokens. A human and an alien, now friends, promising to protect each other. That evening, Admiral Taman addressed the entire fleet. His words were broadcast to every ship, every fighter, every person. 6 months ago, we were strangers. Some of you laughed at our ships. Some of us resented your dismissal. But today we stand together as one force. Tomorrow we face an enemy that wants to destroy everything we've built. Every world. Every species. Everything we love. The Vertoan think we're weak, divided, afraid. They're wrong. We are the Galactic Coalition and the nations of Earth. We are warriors and scholars, soldiers and healers. We come from different worlds with different beliefs, but we are united in purpose. We will defend our homes. We will protect our families. We will survive. Tomorrow we show the Vertoan what unity means. We show them that free beings fighting for survival are the most dangerous force in the universe. To the fleet, see you on the other side. The massive joint fleet moved toward the Vertoan home cluster. Thousands of ships, millions of beings. One shared purpose: survival. In the Indomitable's hangar bay, pilots climbed into their fighters. Humans and aliens working side by side. Flight leader Sang-hoon addressed his mixed squadron. Remember your training. Protect your wingman. We fly together. We fight together. We win together. Kexlin spoke quietly to Minna. First time I'm truly scared before battle. That means you're smart, Minna replied. Fear keeps you alive. Use it. On the bridge, Admiral Taman sat in his command chair.